Hello and welcome to another edition of Banana Island Living podcast. My name is Shade and I have got, I'll tell you what, we call her Dolly, but if you don't know her, you're not allowed to. Her real name is Kemi, and when you have permission and you get to know her well, then you can call her Dolly. But at the moment, Dolly is off limits to you. I'll tell you a little bit of her backstory, but I'll get her to say hello first. Hello, Kemi.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be part of your podcast and to share a little bit about myself and my story.
Well, I'm so glad. If you know how long it's taken me to try and get her onto this podcast, I think you'll be impressed by my perseverance. Not because she's always said yes, because she's such a lovely, obliging person. But catching her in between Nigeria, South Africa, and wherever has been a little bit of a challenge. So thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. And sorry for the trouble.
No, not a trouble at all. Okay, it was a bit of a trouble, but not too much. Okay. Kemi Afun-Ogido she's a development finance professional with well over 10 years experience. Would you believe across 25 African countries? She's the coordinator of the Digital Agricultural Program at the AfDB. Her experience includes structuring public and private sector agribusiness investments, developing impact-focused business models for digital innovation in the agri sector, advising on agricultural trade policy, and enabling regulatory environments, project finance, blended finance mechanisms for the African agricultural sector. Now, in her current role, she's developed the AfDB's investment strategy to scale the adoption of digital technologies and data-driven solutions in the agri sector in Africa. For such a young person, she's packed so much in. Now, in a very short way, can you just tell me how you got to that position? Because your journey is what most people could only dream of. Were you always sure this is where you were going to go, and how did you get there?
Yeah, thanks, Auntie Shadi.
Yes, a true African child.
Yes, I cannot I cannot address you in any other way. But no, I think I've always wanted to be in the international development space. I knew that very early on. When I was a bit younger than 20, I knew I was studying accounting and I knew I wanted to transition into international relations and international development. And I just worked at it till I got there. So post my undergrad in accounting, I sort of pivoted and went to do a master's in public policy and international trade policy. And I started a job working in Europe, in the Netherlands, on EU-Africa relations, particularly trade policy in Africa. And I think that experience helped me get into an international organization like the African Development Bank, and yeah, since then it's just been expanding my experience. I think the AfDB has been such a great place to work because it gives you the opportunity to work across the continent. I do not think I could have gotten this experience of working on projects in 25 different African countries in any other organization. So yeah, that's kind of how I got there, was post my, making the choice of what to study and then being really focused on applying till I got into the type of institution I wanted to work in and just, building my skills in this space so I could become an expert when it comes to development finance, in particular agriculture finance, development finance.
Now, Kemi, you make it sound so easy. First of all, you worked in Europe. How did you get a visa?
I know. Okay. Let me break it down. So I graduated from uni and
Exactly. You don't just get to go work somewhere. Where's the visa? How do I get
How do you get there? Yes. So I looked for, I remember I had graduated from uni and I was waiting. I studied in Nigeria. My undergrad was at ABU Zaria, Ahmadu Bello University up north. I'm a true northern girl. at heart. I grew up in Kaduna, and even though I'm Yoruba, I feel very northern.
Right. Do you speak the language?
Unfortunately not. I'm terrible at languages. I don't speak Hausa, I don't speak Yoruba, I don't speak French. Well, I speak a little French. I don't speak Dutch, even though I lived there for 5 years. So I struggle with languages, but I understand the basics. So I graduated, and I remember that I used to read The Economist. It was I don't think it was a young person's magazine of choice, but it was mine. So I think I've always been quite geeky.
No, but they give good discounts for students. I remember that's how I first read it. They give very good discounts for students.
I was working at a school where in their library they had subscriptions to The Economist, to National Geographic. So it was a secondary school, but they had those kinds of magazines there. And during my lunch break, I would go sit in the library and I would read The Economist or read National Geographic or pick a book from the library. It was very well stocked for a secondary school. It was a private school in Kaduna, and that's where every other week or month I would look out for programs, public policy or international development programs being advertised in The Economist, and I saw one in the Netherlands for a Dutch university, and they had a scholarship opportunity as well. So I applied. It was as simple as just applying.
Wow.
I sent in my letter of my motivation letter and my transcript, and honestly that was it. And I got the admission, and I got an 80% scholarship, which made it so easy to go abroad.
As they say, it's Godo. Now Godo.
It's Godo, It's really, no, because I did not. It is. I mean, I just think it's fate and destiny. And of course, yes, divine, sort of like intervention to get me on that path.
Well, you had to have the grades to match.
Well, I did have the good grades too. I did have the good grades, but it also brings me back to something I truly believe in, which is manifestation. So like when you really want something, you have to speak it, you have to work towards it, and you have to think it and manifest it. And that's how I got I got what I wanted. So I did my master's, and fortunately, postmasters. It was a country where postmasters, if you did a professional course, you were given a 2-year skilled worker visa. So I didn't have to struggle to get a work visa post my master's.
Right.
And I got a job. So the thing is, I'm not as strategic anymore, but when I was young, I was extremely focused, which is quite strange for a young person. During my master's, I looked for internships in this space, in the international development. I looked for organizations in the city I was, right. That's Maastricht, and I applied for an internship, and I took an unpaid internship just so I could get work experience while doing my master's. I didn't care about the money, I just wanted the work experience. And that helped me post my master's. As soon as I applied, I got a job 3 months later in the same industry. And that's where my career started. So I don't know if this is I don't know how many people would share this experience, but this was my path. And I think it was because from a very early age, I was really quite dedicated and committed to, taking the steps towards what I wanted for myself.
So what do you want now? For yourself? I mean, because you say you've been very focused and strategic.
Life has happened.
Life gets in the way, as they say, while you're busy living it.
Yes. So life has happened, and
are you where you want to be? Are you, or have your priorities changed? You're not so strategic now.
So life has happened. My priorities have changed. And life has happened, and I don't know where that young girl who was very focused and committed has kind of taken a back seat. I don't know if it is because I feel like I have achieved most of the goals. So I think it's two things. I think one is, overall, I've achieved most of what I really wanted to, in terms of, I always wanted to be in the international development space. Yes, I've done that. I wanted to travel the world. I've done quite a bit of it. I haven't really been to Asia. and South America. So those are still places that I want to explore. But in terms of Europe, Africa, I really have gone to many of the places I wanted to. In terms of personal goals of, what I wanted to achieve as a person, I've done many of those things. So I feel like I've maxed out, but I've also have evolved into wanting new things. So I am a hummingbird. I like many things. I do not have a favorite anything. I don't have a favorite color. I have colors that I like. I don't have a favorite food. I have a range of food, from different cuisines and different countries that I like. So I've always known that I've always wanted to do different things, but I focused on one, which was my professional career, and now I feel confident and ready to try to redefine myself. What exactly that new definition is still something I'm working on at the moment, but I'm hoping that once I figure it out, I will be able to apply the same kind of commitment and dedication that I had when I was 20 to this new phase of my life.
It's interesting because you sound pretty chilled and pretty comfortable in your own skin. And I know you're of mixed heritage. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're half Nigerian and half Indian?
Yes.
Do you feel Indian? Do you feel Nigerian? Which heritage would you say is the greater half of you?
Niger for life.
Yes.
Yeah, so no, definitely. So I grew up in Nigeria, and the Nigerian identity is very strong. Nigerians always claim their own. They always embrace you. And then I'm Yoruba as well. A Yoruba child is you belong to the family, you belong to the society, you belong to your people.
Everybody's your auntie. Like you're calling me auntie now.
Yes, everyone is my I learned the values of being a Yoruba person, but also growing up north, I really learned about a lot of other Nigerian cultures. As a child, I had close friends who were Idoma. Yeah. I had close friends who were Ibibio, who were Hausa from Sokoto, who were Nupe from Niger, who were from Plateau State, who were from Adamawa, who were Yoruba. Yeah. So I really was exposed to Nigeria in its true essence and diversity. And I know so much more of Nigeria than I do of India, unfortunately. But I still recognize my Indian heritage.
So you're Nigerian?
I'm Nigerian at my heart. I'm a true Nigerian at my heart. I cannot imagine calling anywhere else home like I do Nigeria. I can live wherever else. I've lived in four other countries outside of Nigeria, but Nigeria will always remain home.
Now, in terms of your Indian heritage, do you have or have you ever experienced any sort of not quite acceptance? Because from what we hear, and it's probably not true, that they have even more, that culture has even more divisions than the Nigerian culture, in terms of, what do they call it? I don't even know what the word is, castes and stuff. Have you experienced that?
Like discrimination and the caste system? Yes.
Yeah, things like that. How do you feel about that?
So, luckily, my mother's family is wonderful. They love us as their own. They do not care that we are part Black or part African.
Are they Christians?
They are Christian, so they're from the minority, because Christians are a minority in India, and my mother's family is Christian.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah,
possibly, but it's also, I think, the way they were raised. Yeah. Because my grandparents had no reservation about my mother marrying a Nigerian man. They gave her hand in marriage with all, there was no restriction. So my mom, my aunties, and my uncle and my cousins have always been extremely loving and welcoming, and I've never felt like we're different. We are the same as them. But I do recognize that the broader Indian society, and it's, again, I have to put this out as a disclaimer, it's not every Indian who's like that. But I
Of
think
course not.
because the culture historically has had this caste system, there are these elements sometimes of discrimination.
Yeah.
I personally have never experienced any discrimination with any Indian that I have met in or outside of Nigeria or around the world. I personally have not.
I mean, my parents were mixed, Yoruba, Igbo, and you still get that discrimination even within Nigeria. So it's we can't call out to anybody. We're all as bad as each other.
Yeah. So what I know is what I've seen in the media, and also to an extent what I have heard like from family members of, when I go to India, for example. My mom comes from a very conservative city.
Right.
It's an ancient Muslim city.
Where's that?
It's called Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay, I've heard about it. It's got some lovely monuments there.
Yes, exactly. So it's really a gorgeous, it has a lot of history. But when I go there and my cousin takes me to the night food market, I have to sit in the car. He says he goes out to buy us the food and we sit in the car. The women sit in the car. And that's the kind of cultural difference that I'm not familiar with in Nigeria. I would never experience that. Or at least I haven't experienced that in Nigeria. And I grew up in Kaduna. I went to ABU Zaria. I was in Zaria. But still, even though there are conservative places in Nigeria, I had never experienced anything like that. So that's the kind of cultural difference and that I've had to deal with. But I felt like it was more my family trying to protect me so that nobody, no stranger touches me or pulls my hair, because I had braids. I remember I had long braids and people would stare. Sometimes people would make videos of me without my consent, because maybe they haven't seen, I guess maybe they haven't seen a black person, even though I probably am not as dark as some people in India, so that's probably the max in terms of I guess the awkwardness and I wouldn't call it discrimination because I didn't experience that, but just the shock, I guess, seeing a black person or seeing a mixed Indian person. Yeah.
Well, Dolly, I want to know so much about you, but very briefly, let me go back to your the agribusiness sector, especially the digital agricultural program. I feel this would be such a wonderful opportunity for you to tell us what's actually happening in that space, especially in Nigeria, because every once in a while I come across some thing in the media about some young Nigerian person coming up with this app, connecting young people, connecting farmers with the markets and things. Without boring everybody, I'm personally interested, so I want to know. I don't know about anybody else, but can you just tell me briefly what's happening there? What are the exciting things we should watch out for in that space?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that technology is rapidly changing the world, and not across every sector. I think we hear more about fintech, but really the application of digital innovations, digital technologies can go across all verticals, whether it's healthcare, whether it's energy, including agriculture.
Even in Africa, where so many people are not that educated or clued up in the agri space?
Yes, so 80%, I like numbers. So 80% of the food that we eat on this continent actually comes from smallholder farmers.
Yes.
It comes from rural, low-income farmers.
Wow.
And a big challenge that the continent has faced is that we have very low productivity, which means that when you could find maize being produced in, say, Brazil, for 1 hectare, they would produce, say, 7 tons per hectare. Here in Africa, our farmers are only getting 1.5 to 2 tons to 3 tons max per hectare. So there's a lot that needs to be done to improve the level of productivity.
And it's labor intensive.
So what we're trying to do at the AfDB is to see how can we utilize different digital innovations to help our producers, food producers, farmers, increase productivity, help them access markets, help them access financing, which are the fundamentals of producing food. And so there are different things that are happening. There's a lot of innovation coming up in this space, and particularly by young African entrepreneurs from SMS mobile technologies to provide advisory to the farmer on in terms of, say, what to produce, when to plant, what kind of seeds to use, what kind of fertilizer to use, information on the climate, if there are weather changes, where are the markets, what is the market price in Kano versus, say, Kaduna, to give information to the farmer. Now you can do it just by basic SMS. So yes, we might not have a lot of our farmers being literate or being digitally savvy, but there are very low-tech solutions to be able to deliver them with the information that they require. That's at the low end, but you can go all the way to the high end where you have automated...
Kemi, talk to me. I really, I get that. What I don't get is, how do you even get them to know about this in the first place? Okay. How do you get the data of where the farmers are or their phone numbers? Something that basic. That's what stumps me. Yes.
So a fundamental for delivering digital services to farmers is what we call e-registries. So we need to create these databases of our farmers, of our producers, where they are, what kind of land they work on, and what they're producing. And this is why it's a bit difficult for private sector, who are usually the innovators and creators of these technologies, to be able to deliver digital services to smallholder farmers.
Exactly.
And this is why at the AfDB, we know that we need public sector intervention for digitalization of agriculture. For other sectors, maybe not so much. You may not need
that's
public
why I thought
intervention.
This is a particularly difficult bit.
Yes, and because the bulk of those who work in the ag sector and who produce are small, they're low income, they're rural, they're usually not quite literate, and they're low income. So they're remote, So we need to leverage public resources to be able to, for example, help to build their capacity in terms of like digital literacy, to understand how do you send that USSD code to get information on market prices. And if you can't read, how can you, what numbers do you dial on your basic feature phone to be able to hear the voice prompt that gives you this information? That's at the very basic level.
And so how do you get these data? How do you get, you still haven't told me, how do you find these people? Is it from the government end, from their census or local government?
The raw data of who the farmer is many times it's through public programs where, the public sector traditionally have what you call extension workers. These are government staff that are probably in local governments, and then they're supposed to go into communities and know who are the farmers here. But it's not just the farmers. Another way is through these cooperatives, because cooperatives help to aggregate the farmers. And then you're able to, if you reach a cooperative, you know the members, because the head of the cooperative will have his list of members. So you could have public sector do that type of quote unquote census or e-registration. But many times also you have a lot of these tech private, it's just that it's costly for them. And so they're not able to make good returns on their investment in terms of the technology. If they have to cover the cost of going into the field to find the farmers through the different cooperatives. But it's a manual. So digital solutions in agriculture is a mix of analog and digital. It's a mix of quote unquote manual, where you have to physically go to know who the farmers are, but you also can use technology like GIS from satellites in space to be able to figure out what crop is being produced on a certain land. So you can take a picture from the satellite and you would know that this plot, it's wheat that is being produced, and the plot next to it is actually maize. technology has advanced that far where you can tell that distinction without actually physically being on the land. But of course, you need to geolocate these people, and that's a manual process where you send quote unquote extension workers to go in there, do the registration, take a picture of them, sort of geolocate where they are, find out other, socio-economic data about them, like how many children do they have, how many cows do they own, stuff like that. So it's a mix of both, I would say, like physical, analog, and digital. I hope I don't bore your
Are you enjoying this?
your listeners
are you enjoying
with
that
this
work?
technical.
Yeah, well, no, I'm fascinated, but I don't know. I find it fascinating, and I just think if we can get this bit right, your work is such an important bit. It's such an important part of that, what we need to get right to get food, and for food security, if nothing else, because we're importing so much food and so much wastage. Along the not just the production, but also the value chain and the transportation.
Exactly. So Africa cannot afford to ignore the opportunities that digital technologies offer in the agriculture sector. We just can't afford to do that. The rest of the world has moved far ahead, and we need, and again, it's unfortunate. I know our public sector, there's a lot of, lack of accountability. There's a lot of wastage in terms of resources. There's corruption. There's, poor governance. But we unfortunately just have to work with the system that exists in different countries to try to advance as much as possible. So do I enjoy my work? Yes, I've absolutely loved working in the ag space because it's rewarding. While I have a bit of a finance background, I still like to do work that has impact, that I can see the impact. And I don't always see the impact in terms of 100%. But for Africa and many African countries, it could be anything from 40 to 60%.
Well, that's not bad.
And that's, yes, it gives me a level of fulfillment. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing something good. Worthwhile, exactly.
Okay, now this is where I get to know you. Mm-hmm. That was a nervous. I'm so very nervous.
I'm ready.
you should, I don't know what she's going to do now.
What next? What curveball are you throwing at me?
You've lived in all these African countries. You just wait, sit comfortably. How do you've lived in all these different places, you've been focused, you've been strategic. How about dating? How do you meet people? And how do you how do you make connections in these places? Yes, quite.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because you're a very attractive young woman, very accomplished. You've got everything going for you, but you move around quite a bit. How does that work for you?
So, in terms of building a social network, it's not been too difficult for me because I like to meet people. I like to socialize. I like to interact. So I actually make an effort to do that. I first meet people through my professional network.
So you have to be proactive in that regard.
Oh, yes, for sure. If you sit in your house, nobody's going to come and meet you in there. So you need to make an effort. So I remember, in Tunis, when I lived in Tunisia, I joined Internations. I went to a couple of those events. That way you get to meet others like yourselves, expats, and even locals who are comfortable and open to meeting expats. But they're also professionals, so they understand what it means not to be living in their own country. So I would join those kinds of networks to meet people. And then as I moved across, from there I moved to Cote d'Ivoire. I lived in Cote d'Ivoire for 5 years, and now I'm in South Africa. I think as your network broadens and grows, it's also by recommendation through your network. So I've met a lot of, like, here in South Africa, I've made friends through introduction from other friends in other countries. So that's how my general network.
Yeah, you've known in different places.
Yes, that's how my network has grown. In terms of dating, I will admit it is quite difficult, especially for somebody like me who travels a lot. This one is a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous about this, but so through friends, through my work network, even though I don't like to date people I work with, but also I will put this out there. I am very comfortable with online dating. I know a lot of people have, they feel like there's a stigma around it, and, especially in Nigeria, people would be...
I don't think for your generation there's a stigma. I think maybe for people of my age, there might be a stigma, but not for
I think people are opening up to the idea. But for somebody who has been a nomad like myself, it's quite hard to meet new people outside of the network and circle that you already know.
Yes.
So if you have a circle and half of them are married, half of them are dating other people, and the little 10-20% is a no-go because you know that there's something off with them, how do you meet new people? So I am very comfortable with trying out online dating, and I actually enjoy it because it doesn't I never feel the pressure that it must translate into a relationship. I take it as networking, as meeting new people in a certain city and getting to know others outside of my own network. So that's one way I have tried to date, and I have dated people who I have met on some of these sites. Main thing is, I just put a word of caution out there. Just listen to your gut.
Would you be open to an arranged marriage?
Ooh, no. No. Well, what does arranged marriage mean?
Why?
Though? Because if you mean like in
Not
India...
arranged in the sense that, not because you're being forced into things, but arranged like somebody
introduces
things
you
that you would do well with this person, or it could be family, it could be friends. I think it's more.
Oh yes, no, that's fine.
Than arranged,
yes. If it is so when you said arranged, I was thinking in terms of like the Indian, where this family, that the parents go and talk to each other and say,
where the
children
families
will
decide,
get married,
and you just show up.
Yeah, no, that is impossible. That will never work for me. But introductions, if an auntie knows a family friend of hers whose son they think could be a good, would be somebody that I would like, sure, make the introduction, and it's up to us to take it forward from there.
Yeah, pre-vetted.
Without
I
any
see it as
pressure.
being pre-vetted.
Yes. No, that I'm fine with. So there's this show on Netflix called, I think, Indian Matchmaker. Very interesting.
I love it.
After I watched that with a couple of friends, it actually makes sense. A number of my friends did say that they would pay for somebody to matchmake them, because you understand who this lady is, you understand what her interests are, and you get, you have also, what the interests are on the other side. And as long as there is no pressure for these two people to make it work, that's fine. It's just an introduction. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If we don't connect, we don't connect. But of course, I think I do not think there's anything wrong with your family and friends introducing you to who they potentially, as long as they also understand who you are, so that they're not so off mark with the people that they introduce you to.
Yeah. But I mean, I keep saying, you young people, you have to understand that your family and friends, there's nobody else who has your interest more at heart than them. So you have to give them a measure of trust. They're never going to bring somebody that they don't think will work for you, because what's the upside to that? So watch this space, Dolly, as I set up my dating agency.
Oh, wow. Well, being on your podcast, maybe I'll get a few offers, you know? You never know. But I don't think that family and friends... them. Yes, you will pre-vet them. You will be the gatekeeper. I don't know. I really don't think that family and friends... I do not think that family and friends... They definitely do not have... They definitely have your best interest at heart. But the question is, do they know you? Do they know the person that they're trying to help introduce to someone else? Because if they do not know you, it would be difficult for them to, to introduce you to somebody who you truly could be interested in. But it's fine. I mean, I just live and I enjoy my moments and I enjoy my life. And, when the right time, when things work out,
you're living your best life at the moment.
Exactly. So,
yes.
No pressure.
No. Okay. This is it. What is your, the one thing left on your bucket list, Kemi?
Oh, one thing, just one. Oh my goodness, Auntie, I told you I don't have a favorite anything, so this is very hard.
I know, but if there's one thing that you definitely must do before you kick the bucket, what would it be?
It would be to travel to South America. I really want to see South America. I want to see Bolivia, Peru, Colombia. I've been to Brazil, but I want to see more of it. I've been to Rio.
You want to go Machu Picchu?
Yes, I want to see all those places. If I was to die tomorrow, I'd hope that I get a chance to first visit these.
Before you go there, say, just hang on a minute. Let me do that first before I go.
Yes. It wouldn't be to achieve anything grand. It wouldn't be to achieve anything. It would just be to relax and live and just see these cultures, because I really love culture and history.
Yeah. Okay. Sunday morning, church or chill?
Yeesh. You're putting me on the spot here.
Honest. You have to be honest now.
Honestly, it would be chill and a Sunday brunch. Yes. Chill and a Sunday brunch. I love easy Sundays.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, who do you admire the most?
Tough one, but I would choose Oprah.
Aha, why? Why Oprah?
I like how she built herself despite her background, and how she's a driven woman.
Yeah.
She knew what she wanted. She created that path for herself. She created herself as a brand, and everybody knows her. I just like her ambition, her
and they don't even know her surname because she's such a brand.
Exactly. So Oprah is the brand. So Oprah is someone I admire a lot.
What is her surname? What is Oprah's surname?
I actually do. Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, remember? That was the name of her show.
Winfrey, yes, that's it. Oprah Winfrey, that's it. Yes. But she chose not to get married.
She did, but she has a partner. Yes. I will not give you my opinion on that.
I just love that concept. Yeah, no, each man to his own and God for us all.
Yes. I won't give you my opinion.
Are you a morning person? Are you a morning person or a night owl?
So for work, I am more productive in the morning, but I can stay up late nights because I enjoy going out and socializing.
You're a party animal.
So it's hard to choose that one, so it depends.
Yes. Okay. What are you reading at the moment?
I just got a book from a friend called A Short History of Conquest and Rule, What Britain Did to Nigeria. It's by an author called Max Silon. Siolun or something. I can't pronounce his surname.
Okay.
But it's interesting because he's trying. He's
and what
saying
is it about?
that.
I mean, what Britain did to Nigeria.
yes, I mean it's self-explanatory from the title, but basically he's saying that most of what we read in the history books about Nigeria pre-colonial era is written by British people from a British perspective, and so this is a Nigerian's perspective. And he also says
Yeah.
that yes, and he also says that Nigerians seem to have a nostalgic view of the colonial era, and we look at that period with rose tinted glasses,
Yes,
where we think that times would be better and our lives would be better if the British had stayed back. And so he's trying to show who, from a Nigerian perspective, what it really meant for Britain to have colonized us and the impact of that colonization on different sort of phases of the Nigerian, Nigeria's makeup and evolution. And so I just started reading it. It's quite interesting, but I'm looking forward to to seeing what he says, what Britain did to Nigeria.
It's interesting because I think that's, I agree with that sort of view, but I think it's more a generational thing. My mother's age, they thought, oh gosh, God, they're still saying God save the Queen. I mean, I don't believe this. And my mother said, oh, those were the days. But I think we are slightly woke. So we were like, oh yeah, right. And she took all your money and gave you, you know, what? I mean, because we just read a bit more. So yeah, it's interesting. And I agree with him. And I think from a lot of that age group, sending your child abroad was the thing to do so they become Englishmen. They didn't even think of the damage that was doing to their children and culturally and to their values. And the children come back people that they don't recognize. And, you know, it was hard. Because like my uncle sent his kids when they were 4 to the UK. And, oh gosh, that was... there's another story. Yeah, I know. And the damage, and it's really sad. But yeah... what are you watching on Spotify? What are you listening to on Spotify?
I think there's a movie about that called Farming.
Farming, right?
Apparently, that was the term. It's a movie called Farming, and it's about how I think particularly Nigerian parents send their kids, and they would live with white families.
A lot of Nigerians, I know.
Yes. And the impact
and they were fostered out. I know quite a few people. I know quite a few.
Yeah, so it's a famous British Nigerian actor who made this movie based on his life story. His name is Adewale Akinoye.
I think I even know the guy. Yes, I know his sister. I know his sister quite well. Yes.
Oh wow, really?
And it was interesting because one part of his family came back to Nigeria and the other part didn't come back to Nigeria, and the outcomes for different sides was quite fascinating. Very, very interesting. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So what are you listening to on Spotify at the moment?
So I'm right now really into some British alternative Afropop singers. There's one called Ogbonjaya.
Oh, wow. Tell me.
Amazing. Yeah.
Never heard of him.
There's another called Berwin.
Ogbonjaya.
Yeah, they're underground. Ogbonjaya. So he's Nigerian. I think he's maybe from Cross River or something, and he partly grew up in Nigeria, but also in the UK. And his sound is very like guttural, very raw. And it's sometimes he sounds like Lagbaja, and then sometimes he sounds like Brimo, and then so that type of music in Nigeria is called Alte, which is like alternative.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting, and I like. So there's this song called Message in a Hammer, and it's like a war song.
Yeah.
It sounds like what he's saying is basically that we're going to give you our message in a hammer, meaning like we're going to hit you hard with what we have to say.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. And I wonder, I need to look at the lyrics properly, but I wonder if it is it's sort of a reaction to October 20, the NSARS thing, the situation which happened. So, yeah.
Are you going to vote? Are you registered to vote?
Unfortunately, I am not registered to vote, but if I can still get registered, I will, so I can vote for the upcoming elections.
Oh yeah, because I just did mine a few weeks ago. I drove all the way to Surulere to make sure
Really?
that, because that was the only place I could get registered immediately. Yes, and then they told me that there was somewhere nearby.
What has happened to me is that I'm never in the country when these registrations are happening.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm not able to vote,
Yeah.
to register to vote. But
You can do it now. You do it online. You start online.
great.
Yeah, you start online and then you go and finish it off. Yeah, that's what I did, and it's super
okay.
easy. You just have to be determined to do it. So yeah,
All right,
Operation Vote.
okay, then I'll do that. Operation Vote, I agree with you.
Okay, so we're back on track now. So what are you watching on Netflix? Are you watching anything on Netflix or DSTV where you're in Nigeria?
Okay, so on DSTV, I am watching Insecure, the final season of Insecure.
Okay.
I love Insecure. So, yeah.
So are you a Molly fan or are you an Issa fan? Are you a Molly or an Issa?
Auntie, I can't believe you know this.
I'm down.
How come?
I don't know. I need to get a life.
No, come on. I think I'm more of a it's hard. It's hard. I am Issa in relationships in a way.
Okay.
And I am Molly in her career.
Yes. Okay. So you're a composite.
Yes, I'm a mix of both. It depends. Socially, I'm definitely not Issa because she's too awkward socially. But relationship-wise, I think I could be Issa with lots of confusion,
Yes.
fits and starts. Weird people, liking weird people. I like eccentric people.
Sometimes you think she needs a good slap.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, what's wrong with you?
You need to get a life.
What's wrong with you?
You need a
But
good
when it comes to
Nigerian friend.
career,
You need a good Nigerian
career,
friend or auntie to slap you into shape.
to slap you into shape, knock you back on track, put you on track.
Yes.
But with work, I'm definitely Molly. So I like Molly's vibe and profession, like her career and all that, and that's probably me. And on Netflix, I'm watching Queer Eye.
Not Succession.
No. I like brain dead stuff. I like stuff that I don't need to think too much. I come back from work and I don't want to watch anything too serious. So I like right now. I'm watching Queer Eye. It's this.
I know it. I know
they make people up.
Yes.
They come into your lives and they transform everything. Yeah. So I watch that, and the stories sometimes are quite touching. It's touching because they look at they look at issues the person has in their personal life, then they help them with their home, they a makeover, hair, clothes. I like watching stuff like that. I get some tips.
Okay, so it's brain dead stuff. Yes, okay.
Yes, really brain dead stuff. I don't watch anything serious at home, no.
It's too much like hard work. Okay, so describe yourself in 3 words.
Okay, so I would say first is giver, nurturer. That's the first. I know it's 2 words, but it's one. Second would be wanderlust.
Okay.
I think I love to travel and I'm, pretty restless. I'm always eager to explore a new place and country and culture. And probably the third one would be ambitious.
Good.
Or driven.
Yes. I totally, I'm so in awe of that.
That's who I am. And I'm unashamed.
I like the unapologeticness of that.
I'm unashamed about it.
No, why should you be ashamed? I think that's why I admire Meghan Markle so much, because she is unapologetic about valuing herself and saying what she can achieve. Just.
Yeah, I am pretty driven and ambitious, and I'm proud of it.
Okay, good. So any man who wants to get into your life needs to deal with that.
Well, he needs to be confident in himself.
Yes, and have a measure of ambition too.
True. And that's why he will see my value add.
right? He
Yeah.
wouldn't see it as a competition. Rather,
Yeah.
he would see it as,
Value added.
enhancing his own life and his
Okay,
own
but would you go
journey.
out with somebody who
Yeah.
wasn't ambitious? It doesn't have to be, at that level, but does he need to be ambitious? Or could he be somebody just trying to find himself or write a book, or some angst-ridden navel-gazer?
Oof, Auntie, that's a tough one. No, I think, you know, I think we're constantly
Evolving?
redefining ourselves and evolving. And sometimes you may be at a place in your life where you're trying to find yourself, and that's fine. But as long as you're not trying to find yourself forever, as long as you're not forever in that stage of trying to figure yourself out.
Or figuring yourself out at my expense while I'm working my butt off. That's a different vibe.
Yes, no, I'm open to somebody who is trying to find themselves, as long as there is finiteness to it. There is a start and stop.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean because someone is currently trying to find themselves, it doesn't mean they do not have ambition or drive. Sometimes you need to pause, introspect, and then also
Yeah.
just maybe even take a step back before you can move forward.
And do a reset.
Yes, there's absolutely nothing wrong. I think the world puts too much pressure on us, and we put pressure on ourselves to be perfect, to be driven, to be ambitious,
Absolutely.
to be, goal oriented and always achieving. But in reality, the way we're wired as humans, we're not made for that type of life. We need to pause and reflect, and then make a decision. And it's okay also to redefine yourself as many times as you want.
Yeah. But sometimes that's a luxury that not many people have. And in our society in Nigeria, you don't necessarily have that luxury.
That is very true. It's a luxury.
Yeah. And it's pretty much a first world problem in Nigeria. It's, you're lucky you can sit at home and look after your children. That's a luxury I can't afford.
Yeah, but I think that, for example, mental health is stigmatized.
Yeah.
Mental health challenges is stigmatized in Africa and Nigeria. And part of what we call a luxury that is a first world problem is a problem in our society too. We cannot, a lot of people, because they don't want the world to know that they are struggling mentally, psychologically, emotionally, they just keep going. And they're doing themselves more harm than good. So if you have the family support, the social support that can allow you take a break and pause, I think we should take advantage of it. And we should be a society that encourages others and ourselves to pause and reflect.
And it's accepting.
Yeah, and it's accepting when people want to do that.
So why do you think everybody's in church? It's the pressure now. That's why the churches are doing well. It's an outlet.
It's an outlet.
That's where we go and get mental health. We can scream and shout and curse Satan instead of, dealing with our issues. We put it all on Satan and
That's true.
The evil have done their worst. Okay, so this is the last one.
Okay, all right, let's move on to the last one. Yes.
You're going to have to tell me a joke. Can you tell me a joke?
Okay. I'm not.
It doesn't have to be super funny.
But I'll try. So it's a geeky joke. It's a geeky joke. I've got a geeky joke for you.
Okay.
Why is the math book so unhappy?
Why is the math book so unhappy? Because the page, it doesn't add up?
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it any close?
Because it's full of problems.
Oh gosh, yes. Okay, I'm going to use that. And if you stole it from somewhere, then two of us are going to be stealing jokes. So we're both stealing and not attributing.
I'm not a comedian. I can't come up with a joke.
Oh, well, you've stolen it and I'm stealing it from you. So the two of us.
I borrowed it.
You borrowed it and I stole it. So okay, Kemi, I've had an amazing time and I'm so, we could talk forever. So if people want to get hold of you or get in touch with you, how do they do that? How do they do that? How do they get hold of you? Give us your social media handles.
So I'm off social media. I'm on a social media
Detox.
You're
off
on a
detox.
Instagram. I'm off. I'm on a detox, yes. And I want to try to see if I can do it for 1 year so that I can go back to reading books.
Yes.
I can go back to having long conversations with friends instead of spending hours scrolling on Instagram and TikTok and making funny pictures of myself on Snapchat. And I've deleted my Facebook as well. I think I had Facebook for over 10 years.
So how do people get hold of you?
So how do you get hold of me? LinkedIn. Maybe you can share my LinkedIn bio.
Okay, so it's Kemi.
I still have LinkedIn.
Kemi Afun-Ogido on LinkedIn.
Kemi Afun-Ogido. Yes. Okay.
Now I tell you, she's got an amazing bio. So there, and thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Kemi has been the best ever. She's such good company. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Give us a rating.
Please subscribe. This was fun. Thank you so much. I enjoyed having this conversation.
I enjoyed it. Yes, thank you. Take care. God bless, and see you soon.